All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 10th, 2025 Board of County Commissioners meeting. First, I'd like to start off with our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask Pastor Jim Kimball.
Grateful that we answer to you and that you're merciful. God, we're thankful that we can, as a county, come together and hear from the people that watch over us. God, I pray for our commissioners. It says, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously. I pray, God, that you would give wisdom to these individuals. God, we understand that there are competing issues, but there's one goal. And the one goal is to bring you glory. The one goal is that in us working together, in us caring and loving one another, that does bring you glory. So God, help that to happen in this room today. God, we thank you for our first responders who are dedicated men and women who care for our county and who have put their lives on the line for us. We ask God for safety for them, for your care for them. God, as we go through this meeting, help each one of us to have a clarity of our thought that it would bring you honor. God, we pray for our county, for the kids that are in school today, right now. Protect them. May their minds be expanded today so that they would know what a great God there is in heaven who made such an amazing world. So God, watch over this meeting. We ask for your presence here. We invoke you to be here with us and help us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
All right, thank you, sir. So they call this meeting to order, and we'll do a roll call.
Here.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Here.
Commissioner McDaniel?
Here. Thank you. Need a motion to approval of the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, there's a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next item is elected officials, department heads, and staff reports. Elected officials. All right, I've got one thing real quick then I want to say. At the beginning of the last meeting that we had, I made some comments regarding the negative rhetoric that's been on social media toward the Board of Commissioners. I just want to say thank you to all the citizens of the county who've reached out and by either phone, email, stopped by here and said thank you. I was not looking for that, but it really made me feel good that the majority of the citizens out there appreciate the job that we're doing out there, and I just want to say publicly thank you to all the citizens out there for that. With that, are there any elected officials, any other elected officials would like to make any comments? All right, department heads.
Good morning, commissioners. For the record, my name is Wendy Holmes, Elbert County Director of Communication and Public Affairs. I'm here today to share an update on the county's comprehensive plan community engagement efforts, specifically to share a very, very high-level report about the status of the community survey.
Okay.
As a reminder, the Comprehensive Plan Update website launched July 22nd, and with that launch, the community survey. Now, that survey was in the market for 8 weeks. It closed on September 5th. We promoted that survey for that 8-week period on the county's website, on all of the county's social media platforms, as well as full-page advertising in the August edition of Prairie Times with consistent messaging. Deadline is September 5th. We successfully secured stories promoting the survey on the ABC television network local affiliate 7 News and Elbert County News. I know you would want me to take this time to thank Elbert County libraries because they allowed us to put hard copies of the survey in all 4 of their branches. So those people who do not have internet access or are not comfortable doing an online survey, they could do that, a hard copy. We engaged directly with the community at the county fair and more recently at SIMLA Days. And so I am humbled to share that more than 900 surveys were completed by this community, 925 to be exact. And because of this outstanding turnout, we are assured that we can have a 95% confidence level that the results of this survey reflect the true public opinion of this county. The sample size also reduces the margin of error on the survey to a plus or minus 5%, which, as you know, means the smaller the margin of error, the better. So as we speak, the results are being analyzed by our consultant and will be shared publicly with this board, also the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, the Planning Commission, and as I said, will be released publicly next month at the mid-October, date still being determined, first open house associated with the comp plan update. We'll announce the date, the time, the location here in a couple of weeks. And I know you would want to extend enormous thanks to this community for the turnout and how they stepped up to have their voice be heard. This is encouraging, this is good, and in my career, I have never seen a turnout like this for any community survey I've ever been part of. It's a very, very outstanding job by our communities. And I'm happy to address any questions you may have at this time.
Was it my understanding that this may have broken a record with,
Well, with our consultant,
yes,
I encourage them, we encourage them to look at all of their other clients in rural counties all over this country and counties much larger than this. Some didn't even break 100 in their participation.
that's great.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Any other department heads here?
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Hermes, Finance Director. As you know, grants are a huge part of our budget and how we operate or try to operate. So I'd like to present Summit Grant Solutions to give you an update on all of the grants that we are applying or seeking as a county.
Thank you.
Hi,
Good morning.
good morning. For the record, my name is Ashley Deanne, and I'm the founder of Summit Grant Solutions, LLC. I serve as a strategic steward of Elbert County funding portfolio. My work goes beyond grant writing. I actively manage high-stake federal and state grants for the county, monitor emerging opportunities, and align funding with county priorities. I collaborate across departments to ensure technical needs are translated into fundable language. Grant language is a language of its own. And I build internal systems that support that long-term sustainability with these funding opportunities. Every grant I touch is a part of a larger vision for resilience, growth, and physical responsibility. My proactive approach ensures Elbert County is positioned to successfully apply for funding before the opportunities close. My management of existing grants protects our compliance, and maximizes our return on investment. I keep informed in current needs and events by communicating with the Finance Director, Tiffany Hermes, as well as virtually attending all public sessions and meetings, either in real time or being able to watch at a later date. Some of the grants that we currently have that we are working on closing out, one consists of FEMA. As we know from the disaster in 2023, FEMA funding has been an ongoing, and we are really nearing that finish line of getting all of our funds received from the state. Cat C, which was our road and bridge section of FEMA, we have been finally approved, and we are pending a return of $713,883.51. And this is for the mitigation that was done on several small locations throughout our county, and being able to make sure all of our roads were repaired and put back to pre-existing conditions. Last is Cat Z, and this is for the employee portion of what the time was spent for managing FEMA. And this was done with several employees of the county. So this number, it may seem small, but it was actually a lot of hours put into making sure that FEMA and the paperwork and all of the documents compiled from day one to now completion is $28,480. Next, we have our Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. This is a FEMA-funded grant, but it is through the state of Colorado. This amount, we are able to do the engineering for the bridge over by Agate on County Road 170. And the grant secured for this amount is $425,768.64. With this, the county does have our match of 12.5%, which comes up just right above $70,000. And this was all previously approved through that application process. Now, what we have been able to accomplish through this grant is getting the engineer secured. So here soon, we will be able to have the bridge shovel ready. That way, so we can continue seeking grant opportunities to continue investing in our infrastructure. Speaking of our infrastructure, we have the grant that's called the Off-System Bridge Grant. And this is repairs for a bridge that we have on 166. And that amount is $240,000. And what this is for the repairs to ensure the bridge is in compliance with Colorado Department of Transportation. Lastly, we were awarded our Rural Economic Development Initiative. This is the READY grant through DOLA. And what this is for the feasibility study of the fairgrounds. The amount is $25,000. And as soon as we get our MOU from the state, we will be able to continue and put out for bid for this study. This way, so we can understand the needs of our fairgrounds for future funding opportunities. Lastly, we are working with the IT department for a cybersecurity grant, and this can be an amount up to $200,000, and this is zero match commitment. So it's very exciting if we can procure this grant. It is through ERTB, which is through the electronics recording, and as long as our clerk and recorder office is included with this grant, we can use this countywide. So this will be able to benefit our cybersecurity throughout all departments of the county. All right, is there any questions for me?
Great job. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So I appreciate you all, and
Yep.
No, very good. A lot of big numbers there. Looking at grants over the years, I know there's a lot of detail work that goes into that, and so we appreciate that. It drives me nuts to dig into all those details, but appreciate those who are willing to do so. So thank you.
definitely, thank you all.
Very much. Are any other department heads or staff reports? Going once?
I just wanted to take a moment to remind the board and staff and elected officials that are attending that the budget workshop is coming up on the 17th. You should have received a schedule with proposals from the Finance Department for time to come and present your requests to the board for the upcoming budget. And then also the audit report will be presented on the 24th of this month. That is all I have.
All right, so, and just to be clear on that audit, it's been delayed. Was delayed because of a staffing issue with the company doing the audit. It had nothing to do with our employees or the work that they were doing, which is some more rhetoric out there on the internet. So we submitted everything as our finance department does an excellent job. All of our departments do an excellent job here working together, putting things together. So just wanted to make that point very clear. And we will have it on the 24th.
Yes, the 24th is the date they will come and present.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, one last thing I'll just add here to this is the USGS report, the final approved report still has not been received. We're as aggravated about it as you can be. There's a lot of discussion out there in the public about it. If we had it, we would certainly release it. We don't have it. So as soon as we get it, we will be releasing it to anybody that wants to see it. Our county attorney has sent in requests. We've sent in requests. It's basically going through the upper chain of approvals is what we're told. And Lance, I hate to put you on the spot, but what was the last thing that they said to expect it when?
I wasn't part of the conversation, but my understanding is they said it would be released in the fall, which is now, and they said between the holidays. They did not specify when that was, but we surmise that it's between Labor Day and Thanksgiving, as those appear to be the fall holidays.
Ridiculous, but okay, we get it. I mean, there's our hands, that's about as vague as you can get, isn't it? I assure you, this board wants it as bad as the public wants it, and we will get it out as soon as we get it in here. All right, moving on to public comments, and public comments for items that are not currently on the agenda. So if you have any comments you would like to make at this time, please approach the lectern, and we have a sign-in sheet there. If you don't mind signing in, please.
Hi, my name is Annette McFadden. I own Colorado Greenhouse Builders. I've been in the county for 22 years. I've raised 2 of my 3 kids in the school system here. And I just kind of wanted to take a quick minute to let you guys know, I know some of the decision items on the horizon are going to affect companies like mine. We have a need in this county which involves housing. Nobody here, I believe nobody here wants to become, nobody in the county that I know of wants to become Parker or Douglas County or Arapahoe County. We do not want that growth. What we want is smart planning. We have a need, which is senior housing. I have 2 20-something-year-old kids that cannot live here. They cannot
Let
buy
me
a
interrupt
house.
you. Are you referring to the item that's on the agenda regarding the moratorium?
I am.
Can you wait till we get to that and then come back up if you don't mind? Because
Okay.
the public comments are for items that are not on the
Oh,
agenda.
I apologize.
No
Sorry.
problem. Nope.
Nope.
Sorry about
Okay.
that. Thank you.
I'll come back.
All right. Any other public comments out there that are for items or something that's not on the agenda?
Good morning.
Morning, sir. If you could adjust that mic a little bit, they're having a hard time
Sure,
in the
sure.
back.
Is that better?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, public speaking is not one of my strong points.
Mine either.
My name is Richard Gibbs. My issue is with the electric lines that are currently on pause officially, even though they continue to do surveys and add tags for where things are supposed to be going. Just last week, they managed to cut one of our fences. Fortunately, we caught it in time so that we didn't end up with a herd of cattle on the highway.
You're referring to XL Energy, is that correct?
I am. They've also managed to not shut some gates, even though they did have permission in the combination. So I more or less want to just make you aware. I'm not sure if there's anything you can actually do about it, but I think it's important for everyone to know.
So they cut your fence,
Yeah,
and they didn't close the gates.
and they didn't close the gate.
Just curious, how many cows are we talking? I mean, one cow getting hit by a vehicle
Oh,
could
and now
kill
you're talking
somebody,
about
but
180 cows.
just,
You know, you even have 5 cows go onto Highway 86 in a semi, and all of a sudden you're in a multi-million-dollar liability sort of thing.
okay, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Sorry that happened.
Me too.
Any other public comments?
Good morning, Commissioners. Don Gray, 16,000 Highway 86. To follow up with Mr. Gibbs' concern, I've received several concerned citizens that have called me as being on the board of the ECEA, speaking to Excel's blatant just doing what they please. Now, just because they've signed a contract with the landowner doesn't mean there should be some oversight by the county. I guess my question would be, what determines the start of a project? Yeah, they want to do surveys, they want to come in, but now they're just doing blatantly whatever they want to do. Is there any oversight that the county has to hold them accountable for these actions? Does this entail, in your mind, starting the project? Because you've denied them the process of starting the project, but yet they're moving forward with things that the citizens believe are starting the project. I mean, I don't know how to phrase it very well. Along those same lines, I'd like to ask for an update from the county, how the lawsuit that Xcel Energy Public Service Company of Colorado has filed against the county. And have we heard anything from a lawsuit from the PUC? Because Xcel has indicated that they're going to go back to the PUC, and the PUC is going to, in turn, sue the county. This is so convoluted that the general public doesn't understand it. But if we could get a legal understanding, maybe from Lance, of where we are in that process, and if we can hold Xcel accountable for any of this.
So let me start by saying, because I'm going to have to testify, I'm going to keep, Lance is over there staring at me, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to turn this over to Lance. Can you give a update? Because I don't want to say the wrong thing, since I'm going to be, got to testify in the case.
Understand.
Yeah, I can give a high-level update. Xcel initially filed their Rule 106 appeal with the district court. We believe that's the proper path for resolution of the issues. They also did file with the PUC. There is a path where they believe the PUC will consider this issue, and we're looking into that, but we're concerned about that. They've asked for expedited hearings. They would like a final decision by the PUC by January of this year. We did engage in that process. If we had not, our responses would have been due tomorrow to everything. And when I say response, the PUC expects a summary of all testimony that's going to be offered and a summary on every legal issue in the case. That would have been a pretty heavy lift in about 3 business days. So anyway, we have until the 24th to file everything we need to file. We're engaged with outside counsel to do that. That process is going forward. We don't know right now what the interaction of that process and the Rule 106 is going to be. But right now, it looks like the PUC is going to take jurisdiction, and we're going to have a hearing in front of the PUC. That hearing is likely to take place in part in Elbert County. That has not been scheduled yet, but that is what the statute requires, that there be hearings in Elbert County, and it looks like there will be testimony allowed at that time. So more to come. We're figuring out what this may look like, and we've got very, very competent outside counsel I'm working with to see that happens in the way that benefits the county. But make no mistake about it, it's a fight, and we'll give it our best fight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Lance.
All right, any other public comments? Good morning.
Good morning. Carrie Giblets, 19656 Wiedemeyer Road, Elbert County Environmental Alliance. Just to piggyback on what the previous two speakers said, I too have been getting phone calls. Today was supposed to be the very first eminent domain case that Excel is bringing against landowners. That landowner had to end up settling. What's happening is the court costs, the attorney fees are much more than many of our residents, our landowners can afford, and so they are having to settle, not because they want to, but because they can't afford to fight it. They are looking to you, our county commissioners, to protect them at all costs. So I just wanted to let you know that these cases are starting, but people are having to settle. So just know that they're not settling because they want to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, with that, we'll close public comments. Next item on the agenda is discussion items, and it's consideration for the IGA with Douglas County Maintenance for Delbert Road Extension.
Good morning, Commissioners. Monty Hinkins, Elbert County Public Works Director. So, with the Independence subdivision project, part of the offsite improvements was to extend Delbert Road from 166 down to County Road 158. That construction began late spring of this year. When the construction began, I contacted Douglas County just to make them aware of what was going on. As Delbert Road borders our counties, it's a county line road with Douglas County. We already have IGAs in place for the other portions of Delbert Road. Elbert County maintains full maintenance, including snow plowing, from 166 up to East Parker, and then Douglas County takes it from there, from East Parker up to County Road 194. And they do full maintenance, including snow plowing. When I called them, it immediately activated the conversation of what is the IGA going to look like for this new portion of Delbert Road. In chats back and forth and many emails, and also getting our county attorney involved, it was an easy process. There was, it's very collaborative over there with Douglas County and our county. So the end result was, since there's full maintenance on the other two portions to include snow plowing, why don't we kind of split this one up, per se? So how this IGA ended up reading was, Elbert County will do the maintenance aspect, asphalt repair, things like that. Douglas County will take on the full snow plowing of that road. So that is how the IGA that's in your packet that's presented to you guys is written. It really worked out very beneficial for us too, as through the construction process, the surveying, the engineering, the new extension of Delbert Road ended up coming east quite a ways to line up with 158 in a much safer area towards the top of the hill on 158. The actual county line is at the bottom of the hill. It's been even very difficult for us to turn snow plow trucks around in that location without some kind of safety factor. So that new alignment and the new intersection of Delbert and 158 is in a much better location. When that happened, that also instigated that, what about that portion of 158 from the county line up to where the new intersection is going to be? Douglas County is going to take that within their snow plowing as well. We'll still have maintenance on it, but they're going to snow plow it. So that greatly reduces our costs for snow plowing, helps us out a lot. We're stretched pretty thin in snow plowing anyway. We have 8 snow plow trucks, and things keep growing. So in not accepting any more subdivision roads moving forward, that will help out, but we're still, I like to think we do a fairly good job in snow plowing, but we still have very long stretches of road like Elbert Road, Kiowa Bennett, where it's tough to get it covered effectively. This really helps us, because we would have had to probably look at adding staff, adding another truck, had we had to take this on. So creating this IGA with Douglas County is extremely beneficial. I would ask, with your guys' approval, and if you have any questions after I'm done, that this gets moved to an action item today. As it is kind of time sensitive, I saw on the news the other day, the first snow flying in 2020 was September 8th. So it can be any time. Do you have any questions for me?
I'll just say great job getting that worked out with Douglas County.
Lance was a big help.
Thank you, Lance, as well.
I do have a question.
There are some questions here. Commissioner Buck?
Yeah, quick question. What happens, it's a 5-year IGA, what happens hypothetically, we don't get that renegotiated with Douglas County, that would then fall to us to do that snow plowing, I assume?
Yeah, I have not had that happen yet, because we're always fairly on top of that. And, like I say, it's an extremely collaborative relationship with them and even Arapahoe County. We don't have much of a relationship with El Paso County or Lincoln County. But I would imagine if there was a lapse and if someone didn't catch it, it could be just re-upped relatively easily as this one was.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Schroeder, do you have any questions?
Yeah, since you encouraged us so much that we might see snow next week, have a question.
I hope not.
This road is still being constructed.
Yes.
So
correct.
what happens if we do get a snow and it's only partially constructed? Will they do a partial snow
If the
removal?
road's not open, it'll probably just be the construction folks that are working on the road plow it off for their people. That's another good point that I should have brought up. Once the road is completed, it will go through the typical process of a 2-year warranty maintenance portion. Douglas County will snowplow during that, because that's how our 2 years work, is we don't take on maintenance, but we do snowplow. So that they'll take that on once we get to that phase. But if the road is not open to the traveling public, it'll only be plowed as whatever the construction guys need.
So as the road comes down to the south and it enters into Independence, will that portion be open before the completed part down to 158?
Yes.
Okay, and so they'll take that part when it is open. Okay, I have no problems moving it to action. I see in the IGA here that it's the date is commencing on July 1st of this year. So I do see a time sensitive portion of this. Without objection, I would move that we move this item number G1, the consideration of IGA with Douglas County for maintenance and Elbert Road extension, to an action item H2.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Carries. All right, now we're to action items, and we're at the final decision on the strategic pause. And Commissioner Buck, turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. I think there's some confusion as to what this resolution actually does, so I want to clear that up today. It is focused on rezones for higher density residential in our EDZ zone. But I want to start with some of the things that this resolution does not affect, because that's where some of the confusion is coming from. It does not affect building permits. Okay? It does not affect certificates of occupancy or COs. It does not affect previously approved PUDs, preliminary or final plats. Independence, EC East, EC West, Spring Valley, they're still moving forward. Okay? It does not affect PUD amendments, as long as there is no increase in density requested. It also does not affect any businesses outside of the EDZ zone. Okay? But it still allows the average applicant to come in and rezone 40 acres into 410s, which we see is very common here, 35 acres into a couple of lots, that sort of thing. So that's fairly common here. At our last meeting, we had some speakers talk about that we were shutting down the county. It was all over social media the last 2 weeks that all of the people in the building trades were going to be out of work. This is simply not true. Any harm to the county will happen from the rumors and the fear-mongering that the sky is falling. With this resolution, we are taking a three-pronged approach. Update the comprehensive plan, revise our rules and regulations, and implement a temporary pause in land use applications, giving us a little bit of time. The comprehensive plan scope of work provides for a future land use map. It will be a valuable tool to guide us to where development could be located. This map, along with the comprehensive plan, the rules and regulations, are our tools, and we currently don't have the right tools. Our new planning director said she has never worked somewhere that didn't have one of these future land use maps. I've said this before, but a well-planned community with functional residential and business districts will be much more prosperous in the long term than a disorganized, poorly planned community. The biggest argument that I'm hearing is about property rights. I, for one, absolutely support private property rights. But these rights are not absolute. Property rights, like all rights, have limits, especially when they exercise harm, when their exercise harms others or the public interest. Just like our First Amendment rights of free speech, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. So property rights must be balanced with the rights of neighbors and the rest of the community. That's where zoning laws come in. Zoning isn't some heavy-handed government intrusion. It's a tool used by local elected officials to protect communities, preserve property values, and I want to repeat that, it preserves property values and ensures that one person's use of land doesn't harm others. How about a toxic waste dump next to an elementary school? Right? A hog farm in an urban neighborhood, or a factory in a residential zone. These are extreme examples, but they make the point. So even if you own the land, these are the kind of scenarios zoning prevents, and it's not about restricting freedom, it's about protecting everyone's rights, not just the developers. That's not big government, it's local control and common sense. So for these reasons, I support this resolution.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Schroeder, do you have any comments, sir?
Yes, I do. Be no surprise to anybody in the room probably that I am against this moratorium. And this will be our last shot at making the case, and I plan on doing so. First of all, I'm very disappointed that we're still just even discussing this topic. It's been going on for 4 months now. We're a red county. We're a conservative county. And this is against so many conservative principles that it would be more at home with Mamdani in New York, the communist running for the mayor. This resolution is against many things that we stand for as a conservative county, that I hold dear to core principles and core values. First of all, it's anti-capitalistic. It is telling somebody that they can't use their property in a way that will benefit them the most. You know, it used to be, even 50 years ago, it didn't matter what your political preference was, you still understood capitalism, and you understood that a person took risks and they were able to get a return on that. But today we have more and more people that are against this. We see that with the mayoral candidate in New York, and it's spreading across the country, and it's concerning to me that we are filling in, we are contributing to this idea that there's something wrong with capitalism. I've heard people at this table say, well, the developers make plenty of money. That's not for us to judge. That's for them to make sure that they can make what they need to do what they want to in their capitalistic ventures. This is also against the free market. You are limiting people in what they can purchase, where they can live, what they can do with their livelihood. The free market will take care of things if we let it. It's when we get government interference, when we have government heavy-handedness coming in, that we end up with trouble. And when it gets, that's where it comes into conjunction with this anti-capitalistic feeling. Because people who are looking and say that we have a free market economy are looking that we have not enough housing, that they're having to be forever in a rental situation. And they're blaming capitalism when the real problem is that there's been too much government interference already affecting the supply and the demand of housing. And so it's a slippery slope of where we're headed with this resolution. It's anti-small business. Small businesses are the lifeblood of a local economy, and they need to have people that can support those businesses. So when we limit the number of people that can move into the county, we're limiting small business. How many people leave this county? How much money leaves this county every day because we don't have the businesses in place to be able to keep that money in Elbert County? Likewise, it becomes anti-job growth. We reduce the number of homes that are going to be built. We affect the trades. We affect those people that live in Elbert County that are working on these homes, making them go further away for work. We've limited the number of people that can work within the county. It's not fiscally responsible either. One of our main goals, or one of our main responsibilities as commissioners, is fiscal responsibility. This is limiting the future of Elbert County. And you talk about it only going to be 6 months of this moratorium, but that sends the message that Elbert County is closed. These developments take years to plan, years to put together, and no investor is going to put their money at risk knowing that it may take years to get a return, and then the rug gets pulled out from underneath them. And it's a long-term problem for the county that will take years to recover from. It's anti-middle class. We talk about how the middle class is so important in our nation, in our state, in our county. The houses that are currently being built are for more of the middle class type of a homeowner. And what that does, when we have enough supply in the county, in the state, for homeowners to move out of rental situations into home ownership, it just creates that natural movement and stair-stepping. And when we clamp down on that, it keeps the middle class away from Elbert County. It's also potentially anti-first responder. And we've not even talked with the sheriff, we've not talked with the fire departments on how this will affect their departments. Because there's impact fees that come with every new home that's being built. And I know that we are looking currently at expanding the evidence space for the sheriff, and the only way that we're able to even contemplate that, about doing that in-house without having to go to the taxpayers asking for a mill levy or a sales tax on that, is because our impact fees are close to $1 million in that account, and it's due to the growth that has taken place in the county. And if we clamp that down, any future needs that the sheriff office has, we'll have to come back to the public and say, we know what, we killed the goose that laid the golden egg. We need more money from you instead of from the developers. The same thing for the fire departments. They rely on these impact fees as well. I don't know what percentage of their budget is, but as I said, we've not even talked to them and see what kind of impact it is. So we are making decisions today that can affect these fire departments, not just for months, but for years in advance of how much money they're going to receive on these impact fees. Why we would make a decision affecting other agencies without at least talking to them is baffling to me, other than that there's an agenda in place. And I think we can see that over and over again. Well, what does this resolution do? It promotes things that are just very troubling to me. It promotes control by the government. There's been commissioners at this table say right here, we need to control growth. We don't need big government controlling us. We are a conservative county. We believe in less government, not more government. And to have this idea that the government has the best idea and the best plans for how you can use your land is very troubling to me. It's a slippery slope, and it does infringe on property rights. There is an element of elitism with this resolution as well. We only want certain people that can come into the county, is what this is saying. You have to be able to afford 10 acres to be able to move into this county. And likewise, that probably means you have $1 million plus home that's being built on that 10 acres. No one's going to put a small modular on their 10 acres. There's going to be a builder, a bigger home that is put on there. And so by doing that, we've in a socioeconomic level, said we only want certain people to move into the county, and that is wrong. There's an element of selfishness to this resolution, and I only care about what happens to me. It's only all about me, what happens to me, and it troubles me to think that what I would want on my neighbor's property is more important than what they would want, and who has the right to decide who has that. It's also short-sighted. It's trying to make the case that this is only for 6 months, when even Commissioner Buck last meeting agreed with me that the goals established within this resolution will take longer than 6 months to do. But it is put in as 6 months because then it doesn't have to go through a formal public hearing process. It's short-sighted in thinking that it's only going to be a temporary effect on the county. And to think that we know going into it that this is going to take longer than the 6 months is a little disingenuous to me to say that we're going to pass this resolution knowing that it's going to take more than 6 months. It is in favor of government control, which I've discussed already. And it's also patently unfair. It is unfair to the landowner to say you can't get your best price for your property. If we have a landowner that the family no longer wants to continue a ranch, or a family that has invested money in a property to be able to be developed at a later time, we are suddenly saying you can't do that. You can't do that because we don't want you to use your property as you see fit. And what that ends up doing, it ends up saying that the government should be the ones that are picking the winners and losers. If you're here already and you can continue on with the other developments that have already been approved, you're a winner because guess what? There'll be less competition. You get to continue to build your houses, you get to continue to sell your houses, but we're going to make sure there's no more competition for you. And so we're picking winners and losers with this resolution. As I mentioned before, we've not done a budget impact analysis either internally with the sheriff, with the fire districts, or the school districts. And if I sat on any of those boards, I would be very frustrated and concerned that such action is being taken without being in consultation with them. There are benefits for planned unit developments for people that are concerned about different things. Water seems to be a big topic. Everybody is concerned about water. We all need water. But that's one of the benefits of a planned unit development. They go to the lower aquifers. That's where they get their water. We have been very successful in negotiating as a county with the developers for them going to the lower aquifers, and they're not touching either the upper or lower Dawsons. And so that is the preferred way. It helps everybody. Planned unit developments maintains more ag land in the county. Everybody has this idea of what a rural lifestyle looks like, and I think we all would agree it means there's still plenty of ag land out there. A planned unit development supplies our housing needs, but it also maintains a larger amount of ag land. There's also an element talking about we don't want to be Castle Rock or Parker or Aurora. Well, our developments have 50% open space with them, and interspersed in between those developments, we have many 10-acre, 20-acre, 35-acre parcels and bigger. So we won't become, it's just you look at the plat map of the county, we will not be like those municipalities that we're talking about. This idea of a rural lifestyle, everybody has a different idea on what that means, and I know that the comp plan briefly touches on that. But I've also received many comments from people that they weren't fully able to explain what they meant by a rural lifestyle, that they would like to maintain a rural lifestyle. And so there were some deficiencies within that survey for people to be able to fully explain what they prefer to maintain a rural lifestyle. Part of a rural lifestyle is to have options and choices on what you do with your property. If you'd like to have chickens, you can have chickens. If you want to raise a couple of beef, you can raise a couple of beef. And financially, there's benefit for planned unit developments as well for the county. Monty Hankins, our Public Works Director, just mentioned we no longer accept roads within these developments. That's a cost savings for the county. The taxes that are collected can be used at those arterial roads for improvements as they make impacts on those other roads outside of the development. A public response has been overwhelmingly against the moratorium over the past 4 months. We've received more emails, we've received more letters, there's been more public testimony, and I assume that there's going to be more today than we had for putting the third term for the sheriff on the ballot. And the argument there was, well, we have to listen to the people. The people have spoken. We've had 20 or 30 or 40 people who have expressed their opinion, and so this must go on the ballot. I would submit that the same level of decision-making apply to this. If we've had 30, 40, 50 people, 60 people say that they are against it, if we're going to be consistent, which this board has had trouble being, if we are going to be consistent, then this needs to be voted down. Last meeting, I asked a question to the chair that was not answered, and so I'll rephrase it today. And I hope that by the end of this, he will answer this question. Commissioner McDaniel, why did you move to Elbert County and into a planned unit development? Was it the location, the price, the amenities, the paved roads, the school district, or the fact that you wanted a new home? Whatever your reason for moving into your home, you are taking that opportunity away from another family. And I don't think I am the only one to see the irony if you vote to not allow anyone to follow your lead. On Monday, Fox News released an article had an interview with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And the White House, President Trump, and the leaders at our highest levels are considering declaring a national housing emergency this fall. And I'll read from a portion of this. On Monday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told the Washington Examiner that the Trump administration may declare a national housing emergency this fall, citing rising prices and dwindling supply. Right? It's recognized across the nation we have this issue. And we have the same issue here in Elbert County. We have rising prices, and this moratorium will put a dwindling supply in place. The main person who was interviewed for this article is a man named Dan Coakley, who worked for Lehman Brothers and currently works with Property Markets Group and Affordable Principles. And he said this: everywhere you look, the data is bad. The 25-year-plus real estate veteran noted that during his career, so over 25 years, median rents have risen 21%, while median income has increased only 2% in that same time. And 40% of U.S. households pay more than 30% of their take-home pay on housing costs. You can see why that there's a crisis. And limiting supply is not going to help the crisis. It's not going to help it nationwide, it's not going to help it in the state, and it's not going to help it in the county. He also makes the point that a couple of the things that will help is from the big beautiful bill, some money that is being put into that, into housing. But he also cites that we need lower interest rates and ability for younger people to purchase homes. Now, if you've paid attention to President Trump over the past 6 months and during his first term, he signals things like this early on, that this is going to happen. He puts it out there, and it becomes a pretty strong indication that something is going to happen. And if we as a county, who is supposedly a red county, supposedly a conservative county, clamp down on any housing, what kind of a message does that send to the state and the federal government if there becomes money available, if there becomes incentives available for housing? It says we don't want it. And maybe there's some at this table that would say that's a good thing. But I do not. I think that we need to be in lockstep with the understanding that there is a housing crisis. A couple meetings ago, I talked about a comment that Charlie Kirk made, and I'll repeat that. He is right. With no American dream, and by the American dream we mean people that are able to, young families able to buy a home, have a home, live in there 5 or 6 years and step up, achieve that American dream of having a home ownership, and we know that that's what accumulates wealth in our country. Right now, young people don't have that. They're disillusioned. They don't have the opportunity to do those stair steps that many of us did. And so do you know what becomes more attractive? Socialism, communism, because of the false promises that those isms promote. And we need to stop that. It has to stop, or we're going down a bad path. And so the answer is not to restrict, is not to become more elitist. The answer is to create supply. The demand is there, and if interest rates fall, the demand will increase, and we need to have the supply. Another thing I don't know that we are fully taking consideration of with this moratorium is the atmosphere within our state government over the last 2 years. The last 2 years, the state Democrats have talked and actually talked about different bills on taking away land use from local control and being made at the state level. We do not want to be the poster child this coming spring for this to come to fruition, that local control goes away because Elbert County is showing that they do not want more housing. It's much better for us to have that stay in-house, stay with the control with the county, not give them the opportunity to have this hammer to say, look what's happening in these surrounding counties. The demonization of developers and builders must end. It has got to stop. Commissioner McDaniel talked last meeting about nasty folks on the internet and attacking, and it's true. It happens. But those of us that put ourselves out in the public eye, It's to be expected. We're going to get criticized. We're going to get things thrown at us. It's just part of it. But to sit here and demonize developers and builders, this must end. Commissioners at this table have talked poorly about developers and the money they earn. Commissioners at this table have said we need to control growth. I've heard reports from the Comprehensive Steering Committee that there's been talk there disparagingly against developers, which seems to be way outside their line in developing a comprehensive plan to talk negatively about developers. This may seem to be popular, or you may get accolades and pats on your back for running down developers and builders. But words are powerful. They can cause people to act. We must be responsible in our debates. We must be responsible in the way that we talk about developers and builders. A few weeks ago, there was a community meeting held at the intersection of Elbert and Singing Hills, and for the northeast corner, for there to be put a gas station there. What a reflection is it upon our county that the people there that attended that meeting, that were opposed to this program, were so nasty and so mean that the developer left early and has pulled the project. I also learned yesterday that a road superintendent on the road that is being built between County Road 166 and Elbert, the Elbert extension from 166 down to 158, had a gun pulled on him. It's unacceptable. When we demonize people who are doing their jobs and who are working to the point that violence is being threatened, the words have gotten out of hand, and we've got to tone it down, and we've got to stop it. Sheriff's office was contacted, but the superintendent declined to press charges. I wish he would have. There's no room for that in our public discussion, whether we agree or disagree with growth. And I guess you could argue, because this was a campaign slogan for one of my commissioners, to protect what you love. I suppose these people think they are protecting what they love by becoming very violent and very nasty. There has to be a toning down of this rhetoric. Basically, this resolution is big government telling citizens what they can and cannot do. And for those that think that that's a good idea, just let me say that if the county government is big enough to tell your neighbor what they can do with their property, the county government is also big enough to tell you what you can do with your property. This resolution is not a representative of a county that loves individual rights. This resolution is not representative of a county that loves freedom. This is not representative of a county that loves liberty. This resolution belongs in Boulder, not Elbert. I strongly urge a no vote on the resolution.
Are you finished, sir?
At this point.
All right. Commissioner Buck.
Yeah, I'd like to respond. I'm not sure how Commissioner Schroeder feels about any zoning. Why do we have any zoning at all? Because it makes sense. Currently, Elbert County tells you how many chickens you can have on your property. It tells you how many horses you can have or how many cattle you can have per square acre, that type of thing. So there is a lot of zoning laws on the books that restrict behavior. Can you register a container? Do you have to register a container here in Elbert County if it's on your property and pay a $75 fee? There's a lot of concerns there that, I don't agree with. Some of them I do, but some of these zoning laws make sense, and that's why we have them. I don't know if Commissioner Schroeder advocates for no zoning laws whatsoever and that property rights are absolute. I don't know that. Maybe that's his view. Maybe open borders are his view. I don't know. But some of the things I would like to address that he brought up was the supply. Well, first of all, I'm a capitalist. I want to get that out there. I have not a socialism bone in my body. He did mention that this was an anti-capitalist resolution, so I would have to disagree with that. But he also mentioned modulars and million-dollar homes. People put modulars on 10 acres every day here in Elbert County. Very common, not unique at all. Happens all the time. And as far as supply goes, our housing needs assessment that was done only 3 years ago now called for 3,050 new homes for the next foreseeable decade. So to say that there's a housing crisis in Elbert County is just inflammatory language when we are currently at 9,300 already approved. Within 3 years, we've tripled the number of housing units that are in our pipeline that are already approved. So to say we are in some kind of housing crisis, and this is Republican and Democrat and socialist and all these things, is just hyperbole, in my opinion. We have a commissioner at this table today that went on a tour a couple weeks ago to look at high-density housing, affordable high-density housing in Denver in the hopes of bringing it to Elbert County.
Not true.
The other thing is I want to finish with this. I am not prepared to sell out the citizens of this county for money. And I'll leave it at that.
All right. It's certainly not the kind of meeting that we need to have, but I guess we got to have it. So, Commissioner Schroeder, with all due respect, sir, I do take exception to being referred to as a communist and anti-capitalist. That is absolutely not me. I've been a red-blooded American and a Republican since I registered to vote at the age of 16. This is a 6-month pause. We have 9,300 homes that have already been approved. This 6-month pause is not to do anything other than to allow our people to get our comprehensive plan, to get our regulations done. We have a very good sorry, I just lost my train of thought there just a minute because I thought of something else here. But we have a very good planning commission, and they have difficulty with the current rules and regulations and the way things are written today because they haven't been updated. They have difficulty trying to approve requests coming before them. This is strictly a temporary pause. You can call it moratorium, you can call it whatever you want to call it. Even some of our developers have stepped up to the plate and have said, yes, we agree that this needs to happen. There's a lot of interpretations of the way that the comprehensive plan is written that needs to be defined. That seems to be one of the biggest problems out there. So with that, I'll leave it there. I don't believe that 6 months of pause to get our facts and things together, stuff that's in the pipeline, it doesn't apply. The 9,300 homes, it doesn't apply. So it's not like we're shutting the pipeline down to say, oh, no more homes, no more houses. I agree that this county needs growth in order to sustain itself and continue to go forward. We had 2% growth last year, if I'm correct. We continue to need to have a little bit of growth every year in order to maintain city or county services such as road and bridge, fire, and police. And I'm going to leave it there with that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over and allow the public to make comments if there are any public comments on this. Are there any public comments? Ms. McFadden, I know you were, and I asked you to wait. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you waiting. I hope I didn't embarrass you
Coming in
earlier.
at the wrong time.
No, I hope I didn't embarrass you earlier,
But
shutting you down.
I appreciate what you guys are doing. I think the thing we don't appreciate is that we've got elected officials that are Washington DC here. We have a Congress situation. We have no cohesiveness. We are the majority. The small business owners, the ranchers, the seniors in this county, we are the majority. Not a handful of anti-development crybabies, and I call them crybabies because they cry about the sunshine, they cry about the rain. They hate everything that happens here, but that small group of people dictates my life, and it sucks. I'll tell you that. You need to look at us for this solution, and obviously, there's a discrepancy. We cannot agree on this issue. I ask you to pause your strategic pause until you can educate people on what this is doing. Don't implement a policy that we're all not good with. You know, and I'm going to give you a perfect example. The ED zone, that was implemented. They had great ideas on how that was going to benefit the county. It literally has ruined my life. I am trying to create a business, a second business here in Elbert County that is going to be a service to everybody here. It's going to provide good things. I'm trying to create an indoor year-round farmers market on 158. Because I am in the ED zone, I have to comply with really unreasonable recommendations and requirements. It is hard, even as a contractor on my greenhouse business, to comply with the requirements here. We are hand in hand with red tape crap with Denver. It is hard to be in business in Elbert County. I am one of the businesses that gives back to the kids. I give back to the schools, to the fairs, to the rodeos. I want to succeed here, and I want my kids who work for me to be able to buy a home in this county. Guess what? They have to go to Parker to rent an apartment unless they're going to join in with 4 of their buddies to buy a house. You know, we're asking them, to not have the lifestyle that I have, to own the home, to do the things that I want to do. And I don't agree with you, Mr. Buck, that there is a housing crisis in this county. And I can give you a whole bunch of examples of kids just like mine. They're living in their parents' basements because this is not the world that you and I grew up. I bought my first home at 21. You know, I have a son that's almost 30 and still doesn't own a home because he can't. Or maybe he can in some other community. So I'm just asking that you 3 become cohesive and look at the majority of this county, not a handful of crybaby anti-developers. That's what I'm asking of all 3 of you. And I know all 3 of you are God-fearing men. You know, I appreciate that. This is one of the few counties that I'm aware of that a meeting can start recognizing God and inviting him into this house here. You know, that is something we have to hold on to. Nobody wants to be Parker. Nobody wants to be Douglas County. We want to be a thriving capitalistic county. And we want to recognize our seniors. They have no place to go. Where are they going to go when they reach a certain age? We're going to ship them off to Denver, Colorado Springs. Where are they going to go? I recommend you guys develop a cohesive relationship with our developers that we do have, because I know of the developers that are right down the road in Bennett, in Parker, in Castle Rock. Those developers have no interest in what our lifestyle. I have literally been able to sit down with one of our developers here, and they have given me more time and have implemented some of my ideas on how I can help them kind of create some kind of a rural environment in their developments that they're building. We need to be part of what they're planning, not throwing rocks at them. We need to partner with them. And we need to also hold them to a high standard. We have to hold them and make sure they are investing back into this county. And I don't see that happening in the other counties in this state. So I'm asking you, pause your strategic pause until you can clarify a little more things. That's it.
Ms. McFadden, I just want to make a comment real quick. So I agree with just about everything you said. The part of this pause is to be able to control and hold these developers accountable when they come into the county. Because right now, we don't have the ability to do that, the way that the comprehensive plan and the regulations are. So that's what the purpose of that is. And thank you for your comments. It's well noted. Any other public comments?
Can I add something real quick to Annette's comments, if you don't mind, Annette? I agree with what you said, but that's what that comprehensive plan is for. Anytime you want to come and look me up, you're more than welcome to, and you already know that. But that's what that is for, so we can say we're not anti-growth. So that's a misconception. That's part of the confusion that's out there, is that we're anti-growth. What we are is pro-planned growth. So we want to be able to look at a big development that comes in, apartment building, let's say someone wants to rent. Where is that supposed to go? Where should we put it? Out in the middle of nowhere like we've been doing? I don't think so, because we don't have the infrastructure to support it. We don't have the services like a sheriff's office to support it in that particular area because somebody happens to own land there. So that's what that map is for, that we've talked about, a future planning map, and it's going to designate where some of these things belong, where certain businesses belong, industrial, commercial, restaurants, and residential. So all of that is designed to be picked up in the comprehensive plan. That's part of that scope of work. So I just wanted to let you know that we are working on it and for the future, but what we're talking about is just a temporary, give us a breath so we're not putting things in developments where we're not sure that they belong there, and we want to help citizens like you out. We're pro-business. I think everybody on here is pro-business.
Yeah,
so
I agree with everything you're saying. Those things, we need to be smart about our planning. But there seems to be so many gray areas, and you even said there's a lot of miscommunication about this whole policy being
Well, there's a lot of
And to me, that's a
vague
great-
terminology in our guidelines, a lot of vague terminology that we need to address, we need to take care of, and we need to get that out there, and this will pressure us to get on it sooner rather than later because we're on a clock.
So show everybody where this concept has been successful. Because I've researched it myself. We saw what it did across the street. I've researched it in other counties. It is, I don't think more government control right now is the answer. We need more, like you said, cohesive planning. We need smart planning, but we don't have to stop and put our foot down on it just because we've got to take that measure. We already know the comprehensive plan's in process. We know that's going to happen. It's inevitable, and it has in the past. We just say, if there's so many variables, let's clarify what you're trying to do with this, educate the people, and then come back and vote on it. That's all I'm saying is, let's not rush into something.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Matthew Nilsson, and I'm Land Use Counsel for Kraft Companies. I'm with the firm of Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, and Schreck. I'm speaking today on behalf of Kraft Companies in regard to the proposed moratorium resolution. I first want to note that Brownstein submitted a letter to the county on June 24th outlining our position in opposition to the moratorium, and that Kraft Companies has also submitted additional letters on behalf of itself and its many constituents, which were also included on June 24th and have been submitted since then. In the interest of achieving Commissioner Schroeder's goal of toning down the rhetoric for the purposes of today's meeting, I'll let those letters speak for themselves and not repeat the points that we've made in them. My primary reason for speaking today is that if the Commission makes any amendments to the proposed resolution language from what is included in the agenda packet, we just request an opportunity to review that language with our client, allow the other constituents of Elbert County to review that language, and submit additional public comment on the amendments. That's all I have to say today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Diana Edstrom, 10243 Private Road, 106 Elbert. I would just ask Commissioner Buck, could you please explain again exactly what is and isn't included in this resolution? Because I don't think it's clear, if you would.
Thank you. I'm going to call on Wendy Holmes real quick. She has got a breakdown and can explain exactly what this is and what this is not. This is our Public Information Director. And then we can turn it back over to public comments and to the other commissioners to ask questions. So,
Yes, sir. Again, for the record, Wendy Holmes, Communication Public Affairs Director for Elbert County. In order to help clarify what the proposed strategic pause is, would do, and would not do, I'd be happy to explain that as I understand it from reading the resolution. This is straight from the resolution. What types of development are impacted or could be impacted by this strategic pause? Specifically impacted would be new planned unit developments, PUDs, zoning applications, and processing of all current residential development applications on less than 10 acres. New economic development zone, EDZ, regulations, and EDZ site plan applications on greater than 5 acres, and all site plans for indoor and outdoor storage of any kind. This is the type of development that would be impacted by the proposed strategic pause, the suspension for 6 months. What types of development would not be impacted by the proposed strategic pause? Not impacted by the decision would be any previously approved PUDs or associated final plats. The pause also would not impact applications for PUD amendments, site development plans, special use by review, variances, final plats, plat amendments, minor subdivisions, subdivision exemptions, or land vacations, so long as an increase in unit density is not requested. Thank you.
all right. Commissioners, any questions? Comments? Commissioner Schroeder?
That definition, looking at our pipeline report, we have several projects that are going to be directly impacted. If we take literally what it says about temporarily suspends all application and all processing of current applications, we don't know what might come in the next 6 months. So that's not even a discussion item. We don't know what may or may not come in. But we have a community meeting scheduled for the Singing Hills planned unit development, a redeveloped current property to include conversion of second floor office space to apartments, construction of a liquor store, installation of 2 modular homes, construction of an event center. According to this, point 1 within the resolution, the way I understand it, this will be shelved for a minimum of 6 months. We have another one, Coyote Ridge, PUD, scheduled for us to hear on October 8th. That means that these folks have gone through all the hoops to get to the point to come before our board, and because it's an application in progress, they're going to have the rug pulled out from under them for a minimum of 6 months, if I understand this correctly. We also have other ones on our pipeline report, the Fox Haven PUD and the Valentine PUD and rezone, which we have heard concept briefs on, which they're in the process of putting all the work and effort and time, money into to supporting or submitting an application. And as I understand, that'll be pulled on them as well. We also have a Big Sky Ranch, also known as Miller Ranch PUD. This one might be, may or may not be impacted, depending on whether it's deemed that the prior approval for the Miller Ranch continues or not. But it certainly has the option, I think, it could be argued that this would be stopped as well. And so this does stop things. I'll just, since I have the microphone, I will go ahead and talk. We have said many times these 9,300 homes that have been approved, And it's just flat false. There has not been 9,300 homes approved. There has been zoning approved within those PUDs to be able to have those zoning. We did it last meeting. We approved a separate filing of 100 and some homes. Those are approved homes. And you have those filings that come on throughout all these different PUDs. That's when a home gets approved. And it's all based, again, on the free market. And the developer and the builder are not going to provide or get these approved if the demand is not there for them to build. And so it's based on the free market. And I know we talked about, we love the free market, but we're stopping the free market. As far as excessive regulations in the county, I do not disagree. The idea that we regulate chickens, I don't know, it sounds silly to me. The idea that we have a container issue, and when I was clerk and this came up, spoke a couple times as a citizen against this regulation. While we may have people on our board here that say they're against it, they were not here arguing against it. I was saying it was excessive, and I would be in favor of doing away with that. But this is what I'm talking about, going back to the misinformation that goes out there, suddenly saying that there's 9,300 homes approved. This has got to stop. This is part of the rhetoric that gets people wound up. 9,300 homes are not going to be built in the next 10 years. It's just not going to happen. The market's not there. And the developers know that, the builders know that, but they have it in place for when the market takes place. And it's so disingenuous to say that we've approved that many.
You through, sir? All right, I'm going to call sorry, but I need to call recess for a bathroom break, if you don't mind, for about 10 minutes. If you don't mind, we're going to recess. Thank you. Folks, if you'll take your seats, we're going to reconvene. We'll get everybody's attention. If you'll take your seats, please, we're going to reconvene. Call this meeting back in order. All right, so I foolishly called Wendy Holmes up and asked her to give the positives, what it is and what it is not. I'm sorry for doing that, Wendy, and putting you on the spot like that. And I don't want to put a target on your back, but that was me that asked you to do that because I know that you have worked hard on trying to create a document for all of us to tell us exactly what this thing is and what it is not, as I've said. So for that, I offer an apology. Going forward, I want to continue with public comments because that was the longest trip to the bathroom I've ever had because I tried to get there and get back, but I got caught in the hallway. So there's a lot of you who want to speak, so whoever wants to be next, please step up and let's get moving. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Elbert, and I'm here today on behalf of the Home Builders Association of Metro Denver. In Elbert County, we represent numerous builders and developers who are actively engaged in projects and pulling permits today. But before I begin, I just want to apologize for some of the redundancy in my comments, as some of the points have already been made, but I think that they're extremely important and need to be reiterated. But before I get to that, first off, I just want to thank the commissioners and the county staff for listening to industry feedback at the last hearing and amending some of the language in the resolution to exclude previously approved PUDs. That's a kind of adjustment that shows a willingness to collaborate, which is exactly what we at the HBA and the industry look for and seek with local governments. And we fully understand the importance and thoughtful and responsible planning. However, we urge you to really carefully consider the broader implications that a strategic pause would have, not just on the home building industry, but also on the overall economic stability of the county. Pause in growth doesn't just hit pause, disrupts private investment and undermines economic climate that depends on steady, predictable construction activity here in the county. To echo some of the comments that have already been made, regardless of the intended purposes and regardless you guys say that you are pro-growth, it does send a message. It sends a message that Elbert County is closed for business. And once that pause is eventually lifted, whether it's in 6 months or later than that, changing that message is not going to be an easy task. Local small businesses, from contractors to restaurants to service providers, depend on a growing customer base and consistent economic activity. When development halts, it limits their opportunities, reduces consumer spending, and weakens the foundation that these businesses rely on to sustain jobs in the community. In addition, slow development means reduced tax revenue. Impact fees, which are paid by new residential development, those that fund the parks, the schools, fire districts, the sheriff's office, critical infrastructure such as regarding transportation, they will decline. This loss of revenue will make it harder for the county to provide the very services that residents depend on. And to echo again some of the comments that Commissioner Schroeder made, I think it would be a great conversation for not just you and the staff, but for the general public to hear from some of these public infrastructure groups that on how they will be impacted in the future. And I'll just want to end by saying we are not in favor of this resolution, as you may have guessed by some of the comments I made. But if the board does move forward with this strategic pause, we respectfully ask that you view us as a partner throughout the process in the future. Over the next 6 months, if the resolution passes, the county staff will be drafting new land use regulations intended to prepare the county for strategic growth. Our members, our builders, our developers, our remodelers, our architects, subcontractors, and all of our other members stand at the ready to share their expertise and perspectives. As we've heard today, there's a lot of confusion with this resolution from the industry, from the residents as well, and we'd like to help ensure in the future that this level of misunderstanding is completely avoided. We've seen firsthand in other counties that when builders and developers and local governments sit down at the same table, the outcome is better for everyone. We have many joint task forces with different municipalities and counties throughout the Denver metro area and working groups that have helped other communities adopt clear and predictable, practical regulations that balance growth with the protection of community character and resources, which I think is what we all want here. And we welcome the opportunity to chance to create that same framework here in Elbert County. Because at the end of the day, we all share the same goal to ensure Elbert County grows in a way that is sustainable, responsible, and beneficial for current but also future residents. And we believe that working together, not in opposition, is the best path forward for all of us. Yeah, thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for your service to the Elbert County residents.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other public comments?
How you guys doing? Thank you for your time today. I'm going to start out with a couple of questions. If we are going to have a pause, as you're calling it, the moratorium, which staff will be furloughed? Are they going to furlough any staff? Are we going to lose any money on this? Is the county going to get sued? I mean, what are we going to do? What are we going to have to do here? And I'm going to follow that up with, at the end of the moratorium, there will be backed up applicants, probably quite a lot of them. Do you plan on hiring additional staff to handle them? What's the cost to the county of that going to be? What's going to be the cost? I'd like to maybe even get a response. Have you looked at those numbers, the potential for that? And I'd like to also say that if you can vote yes after listening to Commissioner Schroeder, or even call that into question, it speaks volumes and it will not be forgotten. I'd like to also say that the Elbert County Partnership has been gathering information, collecting through several roundtable discussions for the past several years, information from the actual citizens of this county. And I'm wondering, did you even take a look at the 11-page key findings report that we provided? Because that would be very useful to you. Those are the actual citizens, not the 20 or 30 people that helped you on your campaigns. If this is intended to keep a campaign promise, I've got a problem with that. Because you need to be listening to the citizens. This is a republic. You are representatives. You represent the citizens. So I would prefer that you listen to the citizens of this county rather than your political advisors. I don't feel good about this. This will cost money. There's an average of 14 trades per home to build a new house. Many of those people are our citizens. They're absolutely thrilled, giddy, that they can go to Spring Valley or Gold Creek or Independence and do work there rather than travel 4 hours to Boulder. And keep in mind, it's the perception. It's maybe not the reality, Commissioner Buck. It's the perception of lack of transparency or the suspension of due process. Every one of you up here are elected Republicans. And I feel that we can work something out here, but this lack of transparency, the perception of that, and not coming out and making it clear to everybody, most of the people I talked to didn't even hear about it. But that could lead to scrutiny. That could lead to things being called into question. People are going to be looking at you pretty carefully. I mean, they're going to maybe pull information up on following policies, hiring practices, possibly some expenditures. I mean, I hope that you're prepared for that because it could happen. I don't want that to happen. I really feel that you guys need to stay focused. But the suspension of due process is the cornerstone of a republic, and so is transparency. The people that I've talked to, and there's over 100 of them, those contractors didn't even know you were doing this. So, and it's easy to point out that, oh yeah, we've got 9,000 homes in the pipeline. You know how long it's going to take to build those homes? Probably 50 years. They would like to be optimistic about it, these developers, but it's certainly not going to happen in 10 years. So I would like to see this on a ballot versus have it be something that you're voting on. I mean, I know what the platform was. It was kind of an anti-growth platform, and you had a lot of people whipped up into a frenzy to help you. But you should listen to the citizens, not those 30 people. That's how I feel about this. I'm just beyond myself that you would actually sit here with a straight face and do this without paying attention and gathering more public input, more input from the public. This should be something you approach with caution. It's going to be a spotlight. And do you really want to be the county that leads the way in this right before the president declares a housing emergency? Have you looked at what funds might be lost because of that? Because it's going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind. And this does affect businesses. I mean, I don't know how you can say. I spoke to the owner of the hardware store yesterday. He said more than half of his clients now are those tradesmen. They come in, they spend money. They spend money in our gas stations. They spend money eating our food in our restaurants. I've interviewed 60 people in the past month that are just absolutely thrilled that we have new neighbors. And it just disgusts me. I heard a story about a lady who, she responded to an ad on Facebook. The little girl was selling eggs. And when the response came through, the mom let her know, well, where do you live? I live in Independence. And she said, well, I'm not going to sell my eggs to you. This has gone too far, guys. There is such a separation in this county, I can't stomach it. We can't keep doing this. And a lot of them, I've noticed, Commissioner Buck, are people that, maybe they're part of maybe they helped you in your campaign. And I can't stomach that. You need to work together. We need cohesiveness here. This is not, and you all have been to our meetings. You've seen what we do. And the partnership is being attacked. And they're lies, absolute lies. So when you attack the partnership, you're attacking seniors, you're attacking veterans, you're attacking the auto shop, you're attacking the students in our schools. You're attacking everybody that we have tried to help. You're attacking the food banks, you're attacking the wood bank. And I might be saying you can take it personally, you can be smug all you want, but your people are. They're your people. Reach out to them and tell them to knock it off. I'm done. I won't stand for it, and neither will most of the people in this room.
All right, your 5 minutes is up.
So I'd certainly like to hear your response to the question of how are we going to handle this, how are we going to handle after the fact when we have a huge bottleneck in all these applications? Are we going to furlough people during that 6 months? Or will they
Already asked the question, your time is up, respectfully. It's been
Okay.
5 minutes. They're telling me over here that it's been 5 minutes. Your time
I'm
is up.
sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. I
Yep.
thought you did.
You guys
Excuse
have a
me.
good day, and get back to work. I'm going to go to work.
Thank you. You know, as far as public comments go, you know, commissioners, as a normal practice, don't answer questions, but I'll leave that up to these commissioners whether they want to answer any of these questions or not. You know, don't run off, because I want to say a couple of things, okay? Don't run off. I want to say a couple of things, and I appreciate your comments, but some of that was a little inflammatory. I mean, we're not trying to do anything to hurt the county. If anything, we're trying to help the county. It's sort of like trying to change, as I heard the analogy earlier today, it's sort of like trying to change a flat tire on a moving car. You just can't do it. This thing is all over the board. We keep hearing from the Planning Commission over and over and over about how they need these regulations updated, how they need this comprehensive plan done. And in the meantime, we got projects coming at us, and they can't really, they need better guidelines, things with direction, and not some interpretation of what the guidelines are, if that makes sense. So the only thing I want to say, Bill, is this, is nobody sitting at this table is trying to hurt this county. We're trying to figure out the best avenue to go, and it's a tough position to be in, as you well know. And that's all I just want to say to that.
Chairman McDaniel, perception becomes reality. That's the issue.
Yeah, well, I keep hearing that, but I got to tell you, I understand perception becomes reality, and pardon me, but sometimes that can be some, I'll just let it go.
I do very much care about you guys. I just hope that you'll, in the future at least, not suspend due process to the point that I've seen this occur, and be more transparent. I ask better.
Well, for transparency, I don't know how we could be any more transparent. We've posted, we have meetings, we get core requests every day practically. We need a full-time employee just for core requests. So I don't know how we could be more transparent.
Lack of transparency is in the description of what you're about to do, and saying that it doesn't affect the economy of this county. That's a lie. It absolutely will affect. And rights for me, but not for thee. That's why courtrooms were made.
Understood. Thank you for your comments.
Go to work.
All right. Any other public comments? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Jack Beckwith, speaking on behalf of Lennar Homes, 9193 Jamaica Street, Englewood, 80112. I'm going to speak on this, speak pretty briefly from the perspective of a builder and a developer. I've got two thoughts based off the communication that's been shared so far. I think the first is primarily, I guess let me back up. Speaking on behalf of Lennar Homes, I have to state that we are in opposition of the strategic pause. Now, with that being said, I do understand the importance and the logic behind preparing a comp map, amending the rules and regs. I just do not think that a strategic pause is also needed in order to implement those changes. Beyond that, the 6 months, as been stated, my fear is that you guys, that the ability to achieve the stated goals in 6 months is not achievable. So my question to the board would be, if you guys are not able to achieve your goals within 6 months, what is the plan then? Is the plan to automatically continue the pause? Is the plan to re-engage its constituents at that point? I would like a little bit more discussion as it relates to that perspective of this conversation. And beyond that, I'd like to circle back to the comment I made 4 weeks ago, which is somewhat of an unintended consequence of this theoretical pause, which is Lennar is so focused on today, but we are also focused on the future. We are about to go vertical on 323 home sites in Spring Valley Ranch. With that being the case, I'm now having to look 4, 6, realistically 6 to 8 years in the future as to what our future opportunities are in this county. And a pause, theoretically, from an engagement standpoint, if it's 6 months, 12 months, however long, could have an impact on the next piece, 2 future pieces from today. Those are my current concerns. I feel like everything that's been discussed is justified, and I want to close with I really appreciate what each of you are doing. This is at points an ungrateful job, and I think you guys can see that, but I am very grateful for your contributions and each of your individual perspective on this. So just wanted to close on that.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other public comments?
Jim Marshall, 4091 East Chestnut Court, Greenwood Village. I've got plenty of comments. I think the bottom line is I'm also on the steering committee of for the comp plan update and the reg update. I'm the first one to admit that the comp plan is vague in areas. I'm also very aware of the fact that there's regs in there that prevent developers from coming in and doing 2.5 to 5 acre lots with no central water, no central sewer. That needs to be immediately changed. That's a problem. Elbert County is very unique. It's 1,800 square miles. And to put that in perspective for everybody, Douglas County is only 850 square miles. This is over twice the size. It's also the only county of the 7 counties around the metropolitan area that does not have an interchange, excluding Lyman, on an interstate highway or the E470 Beltway. It's the only county. And I've said this many, many times. Elbert County is predominantly rural. It's about 92, 93% rural today. Even with the 9,000 lots that are approved, it's still going to be predominantly rural. There's just a vast amount of land in this county that will never be developed with high density, at least not in the next 100 to 200 years. And that's a personal opinion, I guess, but it's also logical. Again, I got quite a few things I want to touch on here. I am worried about perception too. There is, unfortunately, we live in a world where social media is alive and well. As everybody knows, and even, I think, Mike, you said it earlier, there's been a lot of distortion and exaggeration about what this is. This is not a long-term moratorium. I can't stand the word moratorium. I hope I never hear it again in this room. And I'm against, generally I don't support a pause or a moratorium. Most municipalities that I've worked in over the last 32 years, I guess, when they do update their comp plans, they don't take a timeout. The town of Parker did back in 2000. It was a 6-month pause. It ended up being an 8-month pause. And that Parker got their stuff done and they got things cleaned up. I was on that steering committee as well. And Parker didn't slow down a whole lot because of it. I think the message has to be sent out properly. I think there's just so many varying opinions on what should be done and how it should be done. I do think Section 1 of the resolution is still not in good form. It doesn't talk about sketch plans. It doesn't talk about preliminary plats. I don't know whether those are included or excluded. I heard Wendy explain this is not intended to stop anything that's in the process. I think the way it's worded, there would be some doubt in my mind as whether I could go forward on plats on the Morstead property. And Morstead, by the way, wasn't even included in the list of communities that I heard earlier. They mentioned Spring Valley, EC West, EC East, Independence, but they didn't mention Morstead. That thing is approved. It's zoned. I do agree that, the 9,300 between Spring Valley, Independence, and all the new zone things with Morstead, EC West, EC East, there's probably close to 11,000 lots that are either zoned and or platted. And to Dallas's point, just because you zone something doesn't mean it's ready to build. And to several people's points, 10, 11,000 units are going to probably last 25 to 30 years out here, if you think about it. I don't think we've had a year ever where we've had more than 300 permits, and that probably was when I had the Gold Creek Valley and the Legacy Village deals in Elbert and Elizabeth going, and those things were doing about 70 units a year at least. Sometimes I think we hit close to 100. So that was a big part of the growth here when things did kind of ratchet up a little bit. It was coming out of the town of Elizabeth, not so much the county. The only two real viable communities in the county today that are being developed is Independence and Spring Valley. I know Tim's getting his EC West deal going, and we're working on Morstead, but we don't even have a plat approved there yet. And we are working with Lennar to have that be their continuation project from Spring Valley. So we, again, we don't want to see things delayed, unnecessarily. It does take a long time to get things done in this county. It's a very rigorous process. The back and forth between staff and the third-party consultants and the agencies that we have to deal with is tedious. We all like to think we can get a plat approved in 12 months, but it doesn't usually. I wouldn't bet my last dollar on that because it doesn't happen very often. So, again, I do want you to really take a close look at Section 1 of the resolution. I think there's some holes in the donut there still. I think Wendy said it pretty clear earlier when she said what it's intended to include and not include. But I think when I read through this, there's some things in here that just aren't there. So, let's see, I also heard, I think, Wendy, did you say that the indoor-outdoor storage was not, would be impacted by this? That's right, so it would be. Would that include a commercial parcel that's already zoned for that use?
That'd be a question for Commissioner Buck or Commissioner.
Jim, you talked a lot about platting for the last few minutes. Doesn't affect platting. It affects zoning.
Okay,
So
so
if
it's
you
just-
read it, you mentioned Morstead.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect Morstead. Morstead's already been zoned for the PUD.
Yeah, it was.
So,
Yeah.
so just to clarify that, like I said, Independence,
the way-
EC East, EC West, Morstead, all of those big subdivisions are still moving forward. Building
okay,
permits are still being issued. Platting is all still going to be approved, and that sort of thing. So to sit there and say that this has this huge effect in shutting down the county, not you,
No,
but
I'm
I've
not
heard
saying
it
that.
throughout today by developers and realtors and different things. But
I do agree, Mike. We've got plenty of stuff in the pipeline right now that'll keep us going for 6 months.
Yeah.
The 6 months is not going to kill this county. I am concerned about social media and the media in general turning this into something that it's not. And several people spoke about this. What we don't want to have happen out here is the business commercial communities say, "Oh, Elbert County's closed for business," because that's part of the message that's being sent out, and it's out there. I can tell you, I'm hearing it. I am working on a mini storage warehouse deal on the Wild Point property, which is in the county, and that's why I was asking that question. The reason I focused on Section 1 is it specifically doesn't talk about sketch and preliminary plats. I have to go through that sketch preliminary plat process before I can do a final plat. But in here, it doesn't say it's exempt.
We could add that language.
Yeah.
If we get to a motion, I would encourage that language be added to number 1.
Yep. No, that's good. I I think those are generally my comments. I mean, I generally wouldn't support any type of artificial manipulation of market, but the comp plan does need updating, the regs do need updating. I don't know that it can be achieved in a 6-month period. The good news is the steering committee's been meeting we've had our first 2 meetings already, so we're about 6 weeks into that process, and we still don't have this resolution approved. So the 6 months and the timeline to get it actually done might be actually getting closer and closer, I don't know. But again, to one of Bill's comments, what does happen if we're not done in 6 months? Does the pause end and we're allowed to continue to move forward, or do we have to extend the pause until the comp plan and the regs are updated and approved? I think that's about all I have right now.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. Tom Maroney, 970 Promontory Circle, Elizabeth. I've dealt with land use in Elbert County for going on 35 years. I took a small break for health reasons, and I'm back. Just bought a house over in the reserve at Wild Point. So I'm very familiar with the past. And I went through this about 25 years ago with John Dunn, and the commissioners did a 1-year moratorium for the reason of updating the comp plan and updating the regulations. So I sat back with my developers for that 1 year, and I was very involved in a lot of the committees that were involved at that point in time. And when the year was over, nothing changed. And I was at the planning office when it was right across the street with 5 land use applications in my hand based on what was done a year ago, a year before. So if you're going to do it, get it done. I think 6 months is very optimistic. I think 6 months is very optimistic. You got a lot of work to do. I hope you get it done. But it is a concern on what's going to happen when that 6 months is over, because this does have an effect. I mean, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I think you need to get something done. Just get it done, please. If you're going to do it, do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Susan Murphy, your fellow elected official and also an Elbert County resident and citizen. So I have a few things I'd like to say this morning. And first, I'd like to say thank you, Dallas. I think all of us in the room appreciate all of the time that you put in bringing those valid points about the economy and free market and property rights. And I appreciate everything that you said. I think we do need to look at the impact of what closing down, or so to speak. Wendy, I appreciate that you mentioned what it includes and what it doesn't include. However, we have already put a sign on our door that we are closed. It is a stigma. It is a bad stigma. We do not want this. We do not need to close the county to do this job. You know, in the big picture legislation, you know, they go and have their meetings and they vote, and it doesn't go into place until the following year. Why do we have to close business or, yeah, close business? I'm not saying the M word, Jim. You didn't want to say that word one more time today. But so why do we have to close in order to update our regs and regulations and laws? Why can't we do this and continue our business as usual and let the economy work for itself? I appreciate Annette's passion. She spoke. There's not one person in this room that came forward today that is in favor of this. I feel like you've already made up your mind, Byron, with the comments that you've said. You basically are saying your hands are tied. I don't believe that's true. Also, I am the county assessor. I deal with a lot of the public, and I appreciate their concern over their values, their taxes. I appreciate the sales prices. They are astronomical right now. If you look on the multi-list right now, you can't buy anything in our county under $700,000 practically. Everything's listed at $1 million. Our kids cannot afford to live here. They are in our basements unless they moved out of this state. So I guess that being said, I just want to say how much I appreciate the reason why we are having these discussions and they look like this. Annette, I know you were very passionate about that. We're having discussions up here as a board because we can't come together, and we are elected officials working for 30,000 people in this county. So what I was going to say is whether people appeal their property values or whether they come in for a cup of coffee, I work for all of them. I work for all of them. My office works for all of them. So we need to have the best interest of this community in mind when we're making decisions like this. Again, not one person has come up here today and said they're in favor of this. I believe it's true. Dallas said when you're considering putting the sheriff on the ballot, of which I am in favor for, going through the right proper and procedures, but the sheriff in the corner on the ballot. Commissioners, you should be on the ballot. It's not fair. You said it's not fair, it's not fair. But anyway, you had listened to the room speak when everyone came and said, sheriff should be on the ballot, and you agreed. People are coming before you today and they're saying, no, we don't want this. Let's not put that sign on our door. Please consider this when you're making a decision. And Byron, I feel the worst for you because you know we got a yes here and we got a no here. You have to make a decision, and I feel like we're on a teeter-totter all the time.
I want a pay raise, a big one, okay?
Yeah, and you know what?
Well, you're right, we do serve the public, and I thank you for your comments, and you can continue. I just...
That's okay. I just want to be clear that the answer from the public is do not do this.
Right.
So who are we listening to? What are we doing? We can do this without closing. We don't have to make that decision, and I urge you to make the right decision today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
I'm Doug Hatfield, 3465 South Gaylord Court, A610, Inglewood, Colorado. I'm also the applicant for the Blue Sky Ranch, formerly known as Miller Ranch. So my business partner Corey and I are here today. We are caught kind of in this pause, if you will, in that we have 2 PUDs approved, plats approved. We are asking for an increase in density, which is a little tagline in one of that, which we weren't expecting. But I have a couple of comments. One is we started this process on the entitlement continuum a little over a year ago with our pre-app meeting with staff, which led to our mandatory community meeting, which we got a lot of feedback from the community in terms of our proposed density, the adjacent size of lots compared to what's existing there. So we took that feedback from the community and we reduced our density completely from what was proposed based on community feedback. So what's in front of the staff and commission now, planning commission, is a much less dense than we originally proposed, although it is incremental density from what's approved. Second comment, I wish you would please consider not just quantity, but quality of development. So we've heard this deal about rural, so we've made this a much more rural-looking development with no sidewalks, rustic fence line, all the things that we hear are important to these people. So to be thrown in a category just because there's an increased density, don't overlook the quality or what we are trying to present, that we heard from the community that, hey, we'd be supportive if there was less density and this had a more rural feel. So that's exactly what our amended app shows. But as the applicant, 6 months is painful to us. We have investors, we have land, and so for us to be suspended for 6 months hurts. And I wanted to express that to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any other public comments?
One of the projects to the north of Spring Valley on the west side is a thing called Coyote Ridge. And Coyote Ridge has been going through the process of trying to get zoned for a couple hundred units. I forget the exact number. Spring Valley Metropolitan District has agreed to serve that property if and when it gets developed for water and sewer services. But that's a situation too where those guys have been in process for, I think, 18 months. And they're still trying to get to a hearing. I think their hearing was scheduled for August 27th, and for some technicality, which it now sounds like was not, they were instructed to take down some signs that they shouldn't have taken down by staff, apparently. This is what I heard yesterday. And now they got bumped to October the 8th. If this thing is adopted, the way I read it, they would not be able to pursue their zoning application on October 8th. And I think that's very unfair for the applicant and for they're both property owners out there. And Dave Quadracci is a resident of Elbert County. He's also on the Elizabeth Fire Department. And I think that would be very disingenuous to both of those owners to have them have to wait 6, 8, or 10 months before they can get to a zoning hearing, which, again, they don't even know if they'll be approved.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, so we're at the point here, I'll close the public comments at this time. Gentlemen, we've heard the people speak, and it's going to come down to me. It's going to come down to, and I am absolutely not, I'm in favor of the moratorium for the purposes given in dealing with Commissioner Buck. I also understand what Commissioner Schroeder is saying. I think that what I would like to do is I would like to get more facts, get them on the table, and I would ask for a motion to table this until we can come back to the next meeting. And at that time, maybe we can educate the public. We can also have more facts in front of us, because I do not feel comfortable at this point after hearing what everybody has said today. So can I get a motion to table this to the next meeting? Okay. All right. Is there a motion on the table to approve?
Yes. Commissioner, I make a motion we approve Resolution 2025-09-04, adding the language preliminary plat to number 1, where it says the suspension does not impact any previously approved PUDs, preliminary, or final plats.
All right. Did you get all that, Rhonda? Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second? All right. Motion dies for lack of second. We're moving on to the next agenda item. Consideration of the IGA with Douglas County for maintenance of Delbert Road extension.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we heard from our Public Works Director, Monty Hankins, on this, and we see some immediacy needed for the approval of this. IGA, I believe we understand it. I would make a motion that we approve the IGA with Douglas County for maintenance of Delbert Road extension.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
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 Motion carries. Next item is executive session. I would like to ask, we could go into executive session.
Would you like an executive session for
Yes,
today?
sir. I think it's warranted.
So the statutory site is 2464024B. This is for legal advice related to matters on the agenda. It takes a vote of 2/3 of the board to adjourn to executive session.
Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we go into executive session at this time.
Is there a second? I second the motion. All in favor, sign of aye.
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 Nay.
Motion carries. We're adjourned to, we're going into executive session. Time is 11:24. Thank you. All right, we good to go? Thank you very much. All right, we are back in session. Lance?
So Lance Ingalls, Elbert County Attorney. So we discussed the legal process and procedure as far as path forward on the issue that the board could not reach a decision even on a motion. It was limited to legal advice. We did not make any decisions or have any discussions on the substance of the resolution. But with that, I will turn it back over to the board.
All right, thank you, sir. Just for clarity purposes here on the previous item on the agenda is with regards to the pause, we as a board could not agree procedurally as to a path forward. The item on the agenda is considered dead. With that being said, the next item on this agenda is board planning. Gentlemen, are there any items that you would like to put onto the next board agenda? Sir? All right. There are no land use hearings today at 1 p.m. I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now adjourned. It is 11:44. Thank you.